towards the end of Justin Thomas's little clip that we played today on the show, Justin said, essentially, our team doesn't have a leader. We don't. There's not one guy on our team that is the guy.
Okay.
And I would argue that that is a horrible thing, and that is a huge detriment to the team. Because if you asked anybody on Team Europe who the leader of the team is, they would immediately and unquestionably say Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And
I guess, yeah.
they would also all say, and as you can quite clearly see in that video, that
Andrew, go ahead and put the two teams up there if you would for me.
Seve is kind of the all-time leader, if you will. Like they always look back and always
he's like the
remember
ultimate,
Severi.
like soldier.
He's the
for
he
Team
is
Europe.
he is sort of the ultimate leader or the father of
the
it all.
inspiration. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah.
And with every passing Ryder Cup, I think it's traditionally you can tell who the leader of the team is.
Well, I mean, if you look at up on your TV screens right now, Dom, I don't disagree with that. Rory McIlroy is probably the alpha, right? But others that would be looked upon in terms of leadership roles, Justin Rose, right? The veteran that he is, major champion. Shane Lowry has asserted himself a lot of ways. John Rahm, there's little doubt about that. I mean, those would be the ones that I would look at. Yeah, on the U.S. side, see, it's interesting that JT said that, what you're noting, because I would have put him as kind of the de facto leader of the team. He's 7-4-2 in the Ryder Cup. At times, I thought at not necessarily the Ryder Cup as much, but a little bit, but definitely at the President's Cup, I thought he got his chest a little too puffed out, and I thought that some of the way that he reacted was, I don't know whether it felt immature to me or arrogant. I don't know what it was, but that was also a younger Justin Thomas, and I'm not sure if he would be the same way or not. That remains to be seen. I'm just trying to look through. I think Bryson has the potential to be a team leader, but he hasn't been there since 21. I know Bryson's doing a brilliant job connecting with people, but I don't know whether he does a brilliant job from a leadership standpoint with the people who are standing around him. I'd be curious what other people think about that. Yeah, it's kind of interesting as you hear me kind of going, because Scotty Scheffler, it doesn't seem like a role that he necessarily embraces, or is it automatic? You're world number one, you're automatically like a team leader.
I mean, obviously we're discounting that each team has a captain, and I understand that. But I'm talking about on the field of play is what I'm referencing, and in the heat of the battle. And I think that's
an interesting point too, Dom, because is your point somewhat blunted by the fact that the captain of the United States team, and Keegan Bradley, is a current player and a very successful current player?
Well, I think what I would argue, what I would ask, the question I would have for the people, for you, for people who are experts. I'm not an expert. I'm just saying that to me, if you just look at the team, the players playing in the Ryder Cup on the left side of your screen there,
yep,
it doesn't feel to me like there's a single person that galvanizes the rest. And I wonder if that's a problem and a bad thing. And when I heard Justin Thomas's comments where he basically said, man, you don't really have a leader, my immediate thought is I think about all the other sports, right? Like the Patriots, who were a dynasty for decades. They had a coach. They had Bill Belichick. But he's not who galvanized the team. It was Tom Brady, a player on the field who galvanized the team. You know, the Golden State Warriors in the NBA in the United States were a powerhouse for a decade. Steve Kerr was their coach, but Steph Curry was their leader. He galvanized the team on the court during play. And I don't think the U.S. team has that person.
All right, well, let me ask you this question.
And I think the European team does have that person.
We just went through that the European team has a number of different candies, which I don't disagree with.
Well, no, I think it's Rory. I think it's flat Rory. It's Rory.
In 2021, the U.S. won by a record margin of 19-9. This was their team. Colin Morikawa, Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantlay, Tony Finau, Xander Schauffele, Jordan Spieth, Harris English, Daniel Berger, and Scotty Scheffler. They won by a record margin. Who on the team that I just gave you stands out to you as the alpha dog leader? I guess what I'm getting at here is, do we look at it and go, okay, well, if they don't feel like they have this definitive player leader amongst their ranks, is that okay? We can look at dominance of personalities in 21 and say, well, Brooks Koepka. But is Brooks Koepka the guy that's going to give you the inspirational speech and you're not going to run through the door, you're going to run through the wall?
Well, part of the problem is the U.S. team has never had that.
That's what I'm getting
In
at.
other words, well, no, if you go backward, well, I think it's a problem. I mean, they
won by a record margin in 2021, home team.
That's one
straight.
single thing as a home team. If you look at the last 20 years, we've shown it a bunch of times. They're 8-3.
Right.
If you look at the history of the Ryder Cup, right, the modern times, Tiger, Jim Furyk, and Phil Mickelson are the guys that have played in the most Ryder Cups in the last 20 or 30
Tiger
years.
And Phil have like the
Tiger is 13-21, terrible. Phil is 18-22, terrible, and Jim Furyk's probably the worst of them all, 10-20. Yeah. They can't win anything. And I think, again, this is a little bit before my time, but at the front end of this, when Tiger and Phil were on teams, there was sort of a friction between them, and I would argue that neither one of them were really leaders of the team. I think one of the knocks on Tiger was that he was never really into the team thing.
The word that I got back in those days from insiders, and it was delivered to me being said that the source is absolutely to be kept confidential. But back in those days, it was you are either Team Tiger or Team Phil. So there was a divide. There was no in between. You had to pick.
Let me finish it this way and just ask a straight question. Can the U.S. team build a successful cultural environment over the next 5 Ryder Cups if they don't find a guy?
That's a really interesting question because it takes me back to a theory that I've had for a long time. And you just went back, Andrew, you know that chart that you had that showed performance from 2002, which illustrated what Dom was saying, that Europe has an 8-3 record over that time span? If you take a look at this chart, what this chart doesn't show you is the Ryder Cup that was just before where it starts. That was at Brookline, when the United States came charging back in singles, down by 4, and won that Ryder Cup. That was the finger in the air by Captain Ben Crenshaw. And so what took place between then and now? At the end of 1999, Payne Stewart died tragically with others in a plane crash. My feeling has been for a long, long time that the U.S. equivalency of Seve Ballesteros was Payne Stewart. And it wasn't merely that he was coming into the role. He was squarely in it when he was taken too soon. Now, that's not to say that Payne Stewart necessarily would have continued, although he seemed to have the capacity, would have continued to be a driving force as a player on the United States Ryder Cup teams, but he definitely would have been an inspirational force in terms of the power of his personality, the passion with which he carried himself. So in 1999, the United States wins that remarkable comeback at Brookline in all that it meant. And you did hear yesterday in the opening comments by Keegan Bradley, instead of saying Justin Leonard and his improbable putt at 17 at Brookline, that Keegan Bradley was there watching as a boy, he said Justin Rose, which was kind of funny, but that happens when you're doing a big speech like that and you're probably nervous and all the rest. So we give him a bye on that, but it was just a cute human thing that took place. But to the point of what does it mean, to Dom's observation, I do believe that the talisman of the U.S. side, the modern Seve of the U.S. side, would have been Payne Stewart. And we lost him. And when we lost him, there was a compass lost because there was this search for leadership. And the search for leadership at that time went to individuals whose first and foremost was to how they conducted themselves, their own competition. And I think it hurt the United States. And the fact that those same individuals also became somehow the trusted brain trust for the U.S. side for all those years, I think the European side was sitting back, rolling one hand over the other and going, this is perfect. You know, where's your bulldog? Where's your person in the room that says, we have to see ourselves as underdogs? Don't talk to me about rankings. Don't talk to me about current performances and who has the most major championship wins. Who's going to sit in that room and go, guys, since 2002, you're 3-8. Don't talk to me about who the favorite is. You're 3-8. Go out there and get it done.